Welcome to the Z-Trigger live stream. It's picking up now. I think we got a few seconds before it's officially going.
Yeah, I just got a notification.
Did you get a notification saying that we were streaming?
Yes. If you're subscribed to a channel, it will... I'm too loud, and you're too silent.
You're too loud now.
Oh god, I gotta stop it.
Is that better? I rolled you back quite a bit.
I'm waiting.
I did. Okay, you're just waiting for it to catch up?
Yep. Yeah, that's much better. Can you raise you up a smidge?
Let me try.
Just a...
Okay, how is that?
Let's see.
Waiting. And for anybody who's watching, we are about to start our podcast recording for this week. I'm going to be playing some Xenosaga. Namely, I'm going to be finishing up GF's quests, and I'm going to be describing this again once we get the podcast recording going as well. Brandon, how's that audio test?
God, this thing does not handle chat audio good at all.
No, well, I mean, frankly, this thing's only sort of designed for chat audio.
You need to go down a hair, because you...
So I'm glad you're testing it. Is this better?
I'm fine, but
I just rolled it off about 5 points. Is it better?
I'm waiting.
do. And also, I will note that I am using the strategy guide to find all the GS quests because this game is not worth really spending a lot of effort on. I have to go to the Kukai Foundation. Has it reached that point yet?
Yeah, but you keep talking over it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we've got levels now. Cool.
Yeah.
Is the description and everything correct on the stream for the stream?
Yes.
All right. My stream health is not great for some reason. I'm plugged directly in. That sucks. I'll have to keep an eye on that. All right. So let me know when you're ready to start the actual recording, and we can get this thing rolling.
Okay.
You ready to start you ready to get this? You ready to do the show?
Yep. Okay. Exit out of that. Yep.
Okay. Very cool. All right. I will. How about you start the show this week?
Okay.
I've done like the past three things we've done. So.
That's fine.
Okay, go for it.
Stupid advertisement.
You know, I've got a button over here that allows me to play ads. So.
Really?
Yeah, I can actually make people watch ads.
That's funny.
It's a way I could make ad revenue if we had a lot of people watching. But it would have to be thousands of people. Okay, start the show, Brandon. I'll shut up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the new episode of the Z-Trigger Podcast. I am Brandon Harris.
My name is William Hill.
And we're back. And Brad is playing Xenosaga 2. That poor, poor soul.
Oh my god.
I don't remember a ton about that game. Mostly other than I just quit playing it.
I remember you starting it, and I remember watching you play it. Because I was like, oh, it's Xenosaga. I really liked the first one. And I watched you play quite a bit of the first one. And then you were playing it, and then you were not playing it. You were doing what I'm doing now, which is to say, you were doing busy work.
That game was not very good. I remember when I first started that game, and they actually started, I was like, wow, you really fucked up that battle system. Good job. They took
a perfectly good imitation of the Xenogears battle system and ruined it.
Well, do they have an explanation of why they did that? What were they trying to do?
I think they were trying to add more strategy to the combat, because the first Xenosaga, as long as you can keep up with the level curve, it's a pretty easy game.
That's what I want in an RPG.
Well, some people actually want challenge in their role-playing games, and you know what? The thing is, I'm fine with a little bit of challenge. Challenge is not a problem I have. But whenever you make the game frustrating to even play...
Well, here's the thing. There's adding strategy by making combat, the things you're fighting, something you need to figure out. And then there's trying to figure out the combat system that you're given. That's not adding strategy. That's just being dumb.
Yeah, because this game, by and large, you're fighting the battle engine more than you're fighting the bosses. I did a boss earlier tonight where it's this poison monster thing. Okay, fair enough. Poison monster thing. Let's dance. A little over 20,000 HP. In order to actually damage any monster in this game, you have to figure out its defense break. Okay, fair enough. Once the defense is broken, I should be able to continue attacking, but you get a couple of attacks, and then you have to start over. Meanwhile, while you're trying to prepare to attack anything in this game, and the key word there is prepare to attack, because you're not actually doing any active gameplay and fighting during this time period, you are getting slaughtered by whatever you're fighting, because by and large, you can't put together an entire battle party of 100% badass dudes to fight stuff in this game. There's no way to permanently do that. And also, Xenosaga is the kind of game where you have experience point syndrome like a motherfucker. It frustrates me, because I loved the first Xenosaga, and this game I'm wrestling with it too much to have fun.
I guess I look at it another way, is that it's okay to change a battle engine for a series that's not connected, that doesn't share a world, like Final Fantasy.
Right.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. It makes sense. But when you have it's like taking a pre-established world and in the next book or game or movie just completely rearranging, changing all the rules with no genuine explanation of why. You just don't do that. It doesn't make any sense. Even if the gameplay mechanics are just, that's just you with the game, still it doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be changed.
And also they made something that's not fun. And I'd be a little bit more susceptible to the change if it had been effective. But it's not. Instead, it's just
I can see
irritating.
I can see adding to a game, to what's already there. Keep what's there.
Technically, this is an addition.
It didn't feel like an addition.
It feels like an irritation.
It feels like it's not even the same. So it was a shitty addition.
Because it is on top of what was already there, namely the combo-oriented, effective use of the different points that are in the battle engine. That's still there. It's just covered up by the armor break system. The armor break system, which...
Why wasn't that there in the first one then? What explanation could they... It's like, because nothing happened in the first one, things have changed in the universe. Now we have to break their armor first. Why? What the fuck?
Again, it's a gameplay edition that just doesn't work. I mean, it functions, but it's not fun. It slows down combat in a game where the combat's not ever been really fast. I went back and finished Xenogears a couple of months ago, right? And this game and Xenogears are thematically and stylistically tied.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, they were going to be part of the same universe, and then, it didn't exactly happen that way. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not even going to criticize that aspect of it, because there's no point. That's water under the bridge,
If you say so.
Yeah, it is, because the series is over.
I guess.
It's all done. It is.
I guess. I guess. I'm not sure I can fully, agree when I had a much better game and prefer to actually get the full story of that one, because that had a lot of questions surrounding it.
Well, you're right, but what I'm saying by water under the bridge is that we're never gonna see the rest of what Xenogears was gonna be.
Yeah, and I'm never going to get another Chrono Trigger game, but that's not going to stop me from bitching about it.
Well, there's bitching about not getting the game you want, and then there's bitching about something that is just genuinely not even remotely possibly going to happen, because Square's never going to touch Xenogears again. And the creators of Xenosaga have moved on. And I don't even know if they could do anything with this game anyway, because of, it being published by Namco. I don't know what the rights and stuff are. Which I'm guessing is the reason why we're getting a remake of .hack GU instead of a remake of Xenosaga, or, an HD of Xenosaga. Which I see more people asking for an HD update of Xenosaga than I do .hack anything. But I digress. I think we just kind of derailed what I was trying to say a minute ago. So it's water under the bridge, we're not going to get any more of that. Where was I going with this? I just completely lost my train of thought. Okay, basically, let me try and get this back. We're never going to see another Xenosaga game. We're never going to get another Xenogears game. So the fact is, they had a little bit more malleability for the battle engine because they weren't... I don't know. I've lost it completely. It's not as good as Xenogears. It's not as fast as Xenogears. That's what I was going to say. This game, like, the combat that's in Xenosaga 1 even is not as fast and fluid as what was in Xenogears. I caught what I was thinking. Yes! I remembered. But Xenogears had a pretty fast combat engine, and this one feels slow. I might have to go back and play Xenosaga 1 again, because it's been so long since I sat down and played through that one. That was like 7 or 8 years ago now. But this feels slow. And the fact that you have to sit there and break armor on the boss, and you have to do it every couple of turns, makes it even slower. This game is a drag to play. There, I got that thought out. Cool. But I would say, that's one of the biggest problems with this game as far as gameplay is concerned. You know what the bigger problem is, Brandon?
The story sucks.
Well, the story's really mediocre, yes. But the padding is what kills it. And the padding is what you are watching on the live stream right now. If you are watching the live stream with us tonight, I am playing the padding of Xenosaga 2. And you have to do the padding, because the padding is directly tied to what skills unlock. You cannot get some of the better skills in the game unless you spend a bunch of time playing through GS missions. And that sucks. Like, I'd rather get that stuff as a reward for leveling up and grinding. But no, you have to go and do crap like... No, I'm going to describe a GS mission I did earlier to you.
Mm-hmm.
A robot wanted to go out on an adventure. So you go and you are trying to find out where the robot went. Sounds like it could be an okay quest, right? In all seriousness, that's a fine quest setup. There are 2 cities in this game. 3 if you really count the Durandal as a location. So you go and you You go to the first city and you find... And I'm using a strategy guide. I'm using a strategy guide to the letter, and I don't even care who knows. You go to the first city and you find somebody that the robot talked to, and they give you the clue. And then you go to the other city and you talk to the next person. And then you go back to the other city and talk to a person. You go back to the other city and talk to a person. You do this for 7 people. And during this, and you literally have to take a ship between these 2 locations each time. So it's literally a process of having to sit there and travel back and forth. There's no combat in between. There's no actual gameplay happening here. You are just going and talking to people in order to find out where this robot is. And they're not really telling you where the robot is. It's like, I saw this robot and he's acting all crazy and stuff. Here's the clue. And it's literally, I have a clue for you. The dialogue's even tedious as shit. I don't even know what the hell I'm supposed to be getting out of this quest on a writing level. But it's just crap the whole time. Whoever designed this quest should be fucking embarrassed because of all of the it's not even, I don't even know if backtracking is the right word, because you're not going to a place you've previously been, but you're just going between the 2 cities over and over again. Thankfully, the reward for that quest was an unlock for the skill to get you an extra bonus 10% to your experience points, which that can be doubled to 20. So I'm okay with that, you know? But by and large, the game really just is not... It's not good, man. And I want it to be good. I really do, but instead it's really damn bad.
Well, you can blame it's the first one for that, actually. This is a series that got punished by the fact that it was an RPG.
Yeah, it really did. And so here's a descriptor for what's going on in the game right now. You're going to see this in a couple minutes on the stream. Oh, no, actually, I just said that. That's really dumb what I just said. In the stream right now, I am fighting a boss. It's a side boss, which is rare for a GS mission to have a side boss, to actually have a monster to fight in it. I think that there's maybe 5 in the whole GS quest line that have a fight associated with it. And I'm fighting this big horn pseudo-dragon thing, and that's kind of cool. I'm fighting a big dragon thing. It's kind of awesome. I'm actually getting to fight a monster. But I have to do a damage break on its armor, and then I have to boost characters into position. So I have to stock attacks so that I can do attacks on the monster whenever it's my turn. And then I can... Oh, are you serious, game? I really fucked up by bringing him into the party, bringing him in my battle party. So, but once it's, I can do the attacks, I'm doing better damage because I've put myself in a position to do attacks against the monster. And then he actually takes damage from me. And this sounds great on... No, it actually sounds terrible on paper, too, because I don't actually do legit damage until the game decides that I'm able to hurt the monster I'm fighting. It's busy work. But, I mean, if there's any consolation to this for me, I've already taken out half of its damage, and I've actually gotten back to being used to using this battle engine. Since like, when I started this afternoon, oh man, I was not playing worth a damn. I got stomped in the, I got stomped just trying to start the game back up. I was getting stomped by random monsters inside the last bosses, inside the last dungeon, which that's partially a problem because I'm underprepared for that part of the game. But that's what I'm doing now. I'm preparing for the last part of the game. So Brandon, did you like the first one? You did like the first Xenosaga, right?
Um, yeah. I mean, I agree with some of the criticisms that people laid against it. That it's heavy leaning on the cutscenes was a little much. You know, you sometimes I don't mind it, but the story has to be like superb. And while I did enjoy Xenosaga 1, is not the greatest thing in the world story wise. I mean, it's okay.
I'm not able to fight anymore.
Fight what?
I'm not able to fight. I've literally not had the boss is just constantly attacking now. I've not had an attack in like, and he's just doing constant attacks, and he's just killed 2 of my characters from full health, and he's still fighting. What in the actual hell is going on? I can't. I'm not doing anything. He just wiped out my party from full health.
He was showing you how futile it is to be playing this game.
I hate this goddamn game, Brandon. I hate this game. I hate it. I genuinely, actually hate playing it. Because it's so awful. That's the kind of shit that the final boss of the game does that just completely broke the balance of the... I'm sorry, but that shows poor balance to me. I got two sets of attacks off on it. I mean, if I'm under-leveled, that's one thing, but I'm not under-leveled. I just got stopped from fighting. I was not able to fight anymore. It just stopped me. And not even stop status effect. He just kept boosting himself into play. And you can't... And I can't constantly boost and recharge my boost at the same time. Like, the game doesn't work like that for me as a player. Oh my god, I hate this game. I liked Xenosaga 1 quite a bit more than this one, but you're absolutely right. It's about 7 hours of gameplay leveled against about 12 hours of cutscenes.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why, because Xenogears wasn't like that at all.
No,
I don't really know what they were trying to do. Sometimes people go a little too heavy in the narrative, and it shows because they try to do less of that in the second one and focus more on gameplay. Well, you fucked up the gameplay, so people bitched about that.
There's still a shit ton of cutscenes, and the game's not that long. So that's only sort of true.
That's sad.
Yeah.
The fact that game is, it's very short.
It is.
In comparison. And then they tried to balance it with the third one, but by that point in time, you've already done damage.
Yeah, because people didn't... I don't know that people really played the third one.
I haven't, and I own it.
Well, you didn't finish the second one, so you weren't invested enough.
I'm just going to skip it. Probably.
You see, I'm too stubborn for that.
It's like, I remember playing a lot of the second one, and I don't remember anything narratively that was important.
I mean, there's stuff that happens in it. It's just...
not happening. Happens, but it's not something that's, like, I ever felt was, like, important to the overall narrative. I remember a lot of stuff dealing with the little guy.
Yeah, Junior.
And that's what I felt like most of the game story was revolved around, was Junior.
It was. And that's fine, but it feels like side story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said that it doesn't feel important. And why I feel like I could probably either just read a summary and skip it.
And that's not good. And that's not a good sign of the quality of this game. And the thing is, seeing as I've seen most of this game's story. I'm at the ending. You're right. It seems inconsequential to the events of the first one. It seems like one character's narrative was incomplete, so they made a game to finish it. Did you just flick a spring?
No, it's my chair. But hell, I don't know if I'll ever play the third one. The second one left such a bad taste in my mouth. I've had zero desire to even ever return. I really don't have any. I feel like there are better things with my time.
I'm really not gonna disagree with you.
And honestly, that series was just like, in a way, I guess, is doomed from the start because it got, it gave us this great title when it was with Square. They decided to ignore it to focus solely on Final Fantasy. So they moved on. Okay, we're going to do it once again. We're going to do a 6-part story. Okay, the first one didn't sell as well. We're going to cut it. So it's not only going to be 3 titles.
No. The first one sold fine. The second one didn't sell well, and then the third one.
Oh no, it didn't sell well enough, and not enough for Namco. Anyway, it sold just fine in Japan, but as a whole, it did not sell well enough for them to say we could probably do 6 titles out of this. So the development staff changed for the second one, and this is what we got. And when it got panned, but somehow or another still commercially successful in Japan, they changed once again for the third one. They tried to do a little bit more of a balance, and I think most people agree that the third one was definitely an improvement, even though I've never played it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm putting myself through this one, and eventually I'll get to play a good one again.
Hopefully.
I hope it's... I mean, it can't be as bad as this. I mean...
You never know.
People like the third one. No, I don't know anybody who's like I've never read anybody defending the second one. And if they do, they're on crack because, God, this game is such a piece of garbage.
People like Final Fantasy 13 and 13 Lightning Returns.
Okay, anybody who says they like Lightning Returns is actually evil. They are not to be trusted. But you bring up that game, and it's so funny that you do because this game reminds me so much of Lightning Returns. It's got an incredibly short plot that is padded out with the worst side content in role-playing game history. Just like Lightning Returns. Now, my difference on Lightning Returns is that the reason I can't beat the final boss in that is because it's got a terrible a guarding blocking system in its action-oriented gameplay. This one just has this boost thing where the monsters can completely fuck you over if it decides to, at a whim. I was literally 1500 HP from beating the final boss back the last time I played this a couple years ago. We're talking... I could have beaten him in 3 more full turns. And that's involving like a proper setup and assault. I mean, I could have beaten him with regular attacks in maybe a 4th turn. But I was also that I had to heal my characters. I was trying to, keep my characters getting healed, but I had close to full health with all 3 characters. And every bit of control I had for the combat was gone, and I couldn't fight anymore. Because he did like 4 attacks in a row and completely wiped out my party. So yeah, that happened in that game as well. That is garbage, as far as I'm concerned. That is not even. That's bad design if the boss will just constantly throw out attack after attack after attack, and I'm not even it's like, oh, it's not fair. No, that just screams bad game design in my book. If the control of the game is completely taken away from me, I call bullshit.
Bullshit.
Because every step of that fight up until then plays the exact same way, step by step. You have the exact same rollout of attacks, and yeah, he adds new attacks at certain intervals and his health dropping down. That's basic boss design. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to is that This son of a bitch just launches an attack on you that doesn't stop. You just have to sit there and take it, and if you don't survive, tough shit. I don't like it. I really just don't like this game. I loved Xenosaga 1 for what it was, which was a pretty decent mech anime with sci-fi stuff spread across a 7-hour game. Aside from the fact that it's only 7 hours and it's nowhere near as good as Xenogears, I really enjoyed the first Xenogears. I don't have bad memories of playing it. I've got nothing but malice for this fucking thing. Like, right now I'm having to do the whole stock up attacks and break armor on a regular monster. So this fight that I'm doing specifically to earn experience points is driving me goddamn batty. Because I'm not just able to sit here and play the game. I'm having to, like, manually fight a nothing monster with fairly advanced tactics for the gameplay in something that should take me seconds to beat, and it's taking minutes. And how many experience points do I get? 1,554 on a scale of 18.4 to level up. That's not good. I need to grind, but I can't grind. And also my stupid 10% bonus doesn't seem to be working. I need to double check that whenever I finish another fight. So, Brandon, what else have you been playing? Because I think we've made it clear that we're not a fan of this game.
No. I've been playing Cave Story.
Very cool. How much have you gotten done in it?
Not very much. Basically just plopped it in and played around maybe about an hour.
So you've probably been to the you've probably been to the egg room so far, right?
The egg room.
Yeah, the hatching room with the giant eggs on the floor.
I don't recall that. I recall being in a big room with a bunch of bunnies. I fought a big rectangle box.
The Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid Man. He busted in like the fucking Kool-Aid Man.
He even says, "Oh yeah!" So yeah, he's the Kool-Aid Man.
Beat him, and now I think I'm just exploring after that. I got some guy to move away from a door when I told him someone was hurt because he needed to go tell the king.
No. It's not the king. It's just King. That's his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. But yeah, it's fun. Like I said, I really enjoy the music.
Oh yeah, the music's spectacular. So are all the sound effects. The graphics are beautiful. They're just wonderful, like 16-bit sprites.
What I love, I'm trying to figure out why does no one question my, like, why am I there? No one questions that. They're like, hey, you're a person. You don't look like any of us, so we're not going to think you're strange. But this other person named Sue, she's fucking strange.
Oh, give it time. Give it time. You're still really early on in a story that is surprisingly, like, heavily written.
Well, I hope it's written.
No, like, in the sense, like, I was not expecting this game to have as much storytelling as it does. And not just that, I didn't expect the storytelling to be as good as it is. So, yeah, give that time. It gets pretty big and wonderful. And also a little bit sad, but that's my opinion. I'm a sap, so it might just be me.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one as you did about your game. But I am enjoying it. Of course, eventually I will play some more. Hell, I got it right next to me. I may just play some right now. But yeah, I'm glad it was only $30.
That too,
because
yeah.
I'm always willing to take some cheap games.
And it's worth it. Like, you know, I saw a bunch of people. A friend of mine said, you know, I can't believe that they're charging $30 for a game that was free at one time. But you know,
Honestly, I don't mind that.
yeah, me
It
either.
was free on the computer for a while, and you know what? Is for what I've seen so far, the man deserves some damn money.
Hell yeah.
And if you're going to put it on a console, charge for it.
Precisely.
Because you can.
And hey, if your game is that good, by all means. And besides, this game actually got a, if I'm not mistaken, it had a $40 port as well, because it got a 3DS release as Cave Story 3D. So that, where, you know, they added some little bit of 3D and made the sprites and stuff 3D. Okay, I do have a bonus experience points thing. Sorry, I just kind of derailed there for a second. But yeah, no, it's a very good game, and we're both not far enough in it to really comment on the later stuff. Like, we're able to talk more about Xenosaga because we both played the first one, and we both are not fond of the things that happened to the second one.
Yeah, I'm still at the village.
Okay, so yeah, you haven't gone down to the hatching room yet, or the egg room. The egg room's the first level, really. It's the first full-on, like, challenging stage of the game. Like, you can kind of, I won't say breeze, but you can get through the first part without too much challenge. The egg room's got some pretty hairy stuff in it. But it's really good. It's a very good game. And speaking of very good games, something happened this week that we've known was coming, but did not have quite the news I was expecting to hear. And that is the Super Nintendo Classic has been announced. So, Brandon,
Yet not able to be pre-ordered, though. If you're in Europe, you can.
Apparently, the European pre-orders have already sold out.
I'm like, why can't we pre-order it yet?
I get the feeling that they're either not going to let us, and then they'll just screw people like me who need it for the reason we're about to talk about here in a second. But it'll happen at some point. I just wish that... I really do hope against hope. And I say hope against hope because it really is... I'm going to say hope again. It is absolutely hopeless that this thing will get enough units into production where it's not just another scalper bullshit machine like the first one.
It's going to be anyway, but they did say they were producing more, considerably more than what they did for the NES Classic.
Well, they'd have to make a metric shit ton to meet demand, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you would have to be just on the verge of flooding the market.
Which, I mean, I'd be fine with that, because then it wouldn't be a challenge for me to get one, and I want one, and we're not to the games list yet, so I'm trying not to talk about that yet, but it needs to have enough units in stores so that people like myself aren't trying to get one. And, you know, not just people like me, but people who have the money and want to buy one, like any other kind of consumer product in the world, should be able to just buy the damn thing.
Yeah. I have, like, every site I can think of signed up for an email list to let me know as soon as it goes to pre-order.
Wow, even you're trying to get one. Damn.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have... I mean, we can't help but go into the damn game list.
Yeah, we're officially at the point.
It has games I want, but it's missing games I would rather have. Like, it gives me Final Fantasy 3... let's see. Let's see. 3 gives me Link to the Past.
Don't bring up the special one yet. Let's
I'm
do
not.
that.
But I mean,
Secret of Mana, Mario
I'm trying to find
RPG.
a damn list. Where the fuck is the list?
I can get you one really fast. This got Secret of Mana, Donkey Kong Country. Oh man, Super Metroid.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, games that I'm glad are there. Earthbound, Final Fantasy 3,
Mario
Kirby
Kart,
Superstar,
Contra 3,
Link to the Past,
Mega Man X. Oh, I can see two games that could be taken out of this thing, and I would not lose sleep over it all. And those are Kirby's Dream Course and Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And the reasons are Kirby's Dream Course is such a weird title to have on this thing because it's a Kirby golf game. And Super Ghouls and Ghosts is a game that I'll never be able to beat, so what's the fucking point?
Honestly, the only Kirby game you need up there is the one above it. Kirby Superstar is the only Kirby game you need, because that's the one that gives you like a bunch of different Kirby games.
Yeah, and one of which is a remake of Kirby Super. I was about to say Kirby Superstar. Kirby Dreamland. Isn't that the name of it for the Game Boy?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, perfect remake. It's the kind of thing you got on the Super Nintendo. And, because we got, Mario All-Stars back in the day, which that's another slip-up. If they really wanted to, like, throw down and make this thing worth the extra buck, they would have made the Super Mario World cartridge just the Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World pack. Because that also had this is something I learned this week, actually. The Mario All-Stars with Super Mario World pack had the Luigi floaty jump controls from Super Mario 2 in Super Mario World.
Huh.
And the only other way that's ever come out is in, like, if you played Mario World in 2-player on the Game Boy Advance, if I recall correctly. So they could have made it worth that extra couple of bucks, Which, by the way, you asked me the other day, why the hell is this thing $80? Well, this one comes with 2 controllers, where the first one only came with 1. So that's a part of the reason. Final Fantasy 3 being on here is, of course, every bit as perfect as it could possibly be, because there are a few games as good as Final Fantasy 3. They could have totally thrown out Super Ghouls and Ghosts, like I said, and given us Chrono Trigger as well, and this thing would have been worth every penny plus more.
See, that was one that I was disappointed on. I was like, fuck, take out Super Punch-Out and give me Chrono Trigger. Or, fuck, take out Yoshi's Island. I don't want to listen to screaming baby Mario, people.
Yeah, me either. But those are Nintendo titles. You're going to have more Nintendo titles just because they don't have the rights. They don't have the rights cost that some of these other games do. Now, that said, I am surprised that Square's on here as much as they are because of Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy 3, and then, of course, Mario RPG, which is,
Well, that's owned by Square. I mean, that's owned by Nintendo anyway. So.
Yeah, but at least they work together on it, is what I'm saying. We're getting 3 Square role-playing games on here, as well as Earthbound. This thing's got a couple hundred hours of gameplay just in those excellent titles alone. That's cool as hell.
I guess I'm happy that I get a Super Metroid in another fashion.
Oh,
yeah. Way.
Absolutely. And Castlevania 4 is always a great game. That's one of the only Castlevania games of that style that's actually playable for long periods of time without being incredibly pissed off.
Says you.
I can get through quite a bit of Super Castlevania 4. It's not that hard. Because you can actually, manage the jumps better, except for whenever it goes into 3D, to the Mode 7 type stuff. That's really hard. Alright, so I've been saving it because I'm going to have to get fanboyish here, and I apologize. So, this is pretty special. Okay, Star Fox is on here. Now, long-time listeners to the show will know that I have quite a bit of history with the Star Fox franchise. Namely that I obsess about Star Fox ever since I played through and beat Star Fox 64 in expert mode, getting all the medals. So I love this game. Probably more than any normal sane human being should love a game. Star Fox 64 was kind of built out of the ashes of Star Fox 2, which is a game that never released. They shelved it, and they put it aside, and they held on to the gameplay ideas for Star Fox 64. And in a grandiose show of "fuck your wallet, Brad, we're gonna make you we're gonna make you have to fight scalpers for this thing," Nintendo has put Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo Classic, a game that has never been released properly in the history of gaming, and they're putting it on this set. And when I saw that, I honestly have access to every other game in this thing that I really want, except for Secret of Mana. I can play anything on this set on at least one, maybe even two systems. But Star Fox 2 is why I will have to buy this thing. As good as so many of these other games are, and as much as it's going to be great having an HDMI output emulation of these games that is superb, because the NES Classic has the best emulation I've ever played for those games. It is immaculate. To have that degree of quality on Super Nintendo titles is amazing enough. But Star Fox 2 is a game that I was kind of trying to figure out how I would ever be able to afford a reproduction cart for, so that I could play it. Now it's going to be touched up and released by Nintendo, and they're releasing it on this goddamn platform that scalpers are looking at as a means to make a small fortune over the holidays. And that's fucking ball-stompingly frustrating to me. Because I bought the goddamn Wii U Star Fox game. A game that I don't think anybody, that very few people have spent time defending, and I've defended it. It's not the worst game I've ever played. It's not Star Fox for the DS. That game's a fucking pile of shit. But they are releasing Star Fox 2 in a scalper's, like, dream console.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. Do not get me wrong, I think this is going to be a great piece of gaming hardware, and I'm glad that it comes with two controllers, and they listened and they're giving us longer controller cables, not by much, but they're actually giving us better controller cables. They're doing better by us this time. But that is really grating on me right now, the fact that I may not be able to get this piece of hardware that will allow me to play a game that I've wanted to play for literally 18 goddamn years. Because I learned about Star Fox 2 after playing Star Fox 64, after playing Star Fox for the Super Nintendo for the first time, and I learned about it. I was like, wow, that's really cool. It's a shame we'll never get to play that. And the fact that it was almost this irritates me. It's almost like if there was a sequel to Final Fantasy VI that was actually being made by the actual staff at Squaresoft in 1996 that got shelved, almost ready, and then the only way to play it was if I moved to Japan and lived on a mountain inside of a cave. Because to me, that right now, that's the level of inaccessibility this thing has from the outset. I think you were about to say something. What was it?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I'm sorry. That got way too cranky there for a minute. But seriously, I've been wanting to play this game for so long. Like, ever since I learned that it was almost finished, it stopped being a fantasy of playing the long lost Star Fox game, and it became the pseudo reality of playing a long lost Star Fox game, and it's hurting me right now that the odds are not with me on owning this thing.
Well, don't feel bad. Most people are not going to be owning this thing.
You're right, and that's shitty because Nintendo should keep these things in production, or they should at least meet the demand, and stores should prevent scalpers from buying up the entire goddamn stock when they come in. Like, I know that they're out to make money, but they need to be less shitty to the average person, because I saw... So my sister on Facebook, she shares all those stupid contests from, like, Freebie Mom or what the hell ever, and every time she shared one that had an NES Classic, and I'm like, You are literally insulting me right now, because that dumb bitch on her damn Facebook page is... she's essentially a scalper. She's scamming... She's basically fucking over the entire gaming audience who actually want an NES Classic to play, not just give away on a website or sell for $300. And that is ultimately the tragedy of the NES Classic, is that it became the scalper box rather than a fondly remembered piece of Nintendo hardware. So, back to the positives. You know, I could sit here and harp on the fact that this thing's, you know, almost like dead on arrival for most people because of how much they're all angry about the previous hardware, but I would like to also celebrate the fact that, hey, you know, whoever does get this thing, they're going to get a chance to play some of the greatest video games ever made. Because as good as the stuff that was on the NES Classic was, the Super Nintendo was the golden age of fucking video games, man. Like, Metroid's good. Metroid on the NES is a good game. Wouldn't you say? It's a good game.
I've never beaten it, but yeah, it at least it eventually gave me Super Metroid.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like, it's good, but Super Metroid's widely considered the great. I mean, I've seen it on the top of so many greatest games of all times lists that, you know, that's high praise. It sticks out against the entirety of the the Super Nintendo library, which was also full of amazing games. Super Mario World is still one of my favorite video games ever. Final Fantasy VI, one of my favorite games ever. Earthbound is a game that people have written letters to Nintendo begging for a re-release for ages before they finally did. People were such big fans of that game that when the third Mother game came out in Japan, they got together and they translated it and released a patch for people who emulated it, and now it's one of the highest produced reproduction carts in existence. Whenever I went to the comic convention here in Raleigh a couple months ago, there was a seller there who had video games, and he had a little plastic basket like you probably use for sorting prescriptions at work. If you're anything like CVS, you have little plastic baskets for sorting your prescriptions. Yeah, this guy had a basket like that full of Game Boy Advance reproduction carts of Mother 3 and Mother 1 and 2 on the same cart. Super Mario RPG is a game that people have been begging for a proper sequel to pretty much since the first one came out. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, one of the most revered Zelda games. I mean, I could go the fuck on. This entire system, with the exception of like Kirby's Dream Course, Super Punch-Out, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and you know, you could even argue F-Zero. These are all contenders for the finest for the finest moments in video games. You know? This piece of hardware is no slouch in terms of just raw gaming quality.
That's why I'm sort of surprised that the one that everyone seemed to go like apeshit for was the NES Classic. Yeah, I know a lot of people enjoyed that back in the day, but honestly, I mean, maybe it's just because I grew up with the Super Nintendo. I grew up during the hell. I grew up with the regular Nintendo too. Yeah. But it was the Super Nintendo that everybody had. Like, I go down the street with any kid, their motherfuckers had a Super Nintendo.
Oh, you see, for me, most of the people I grew up with, they had a damn Genesis, which was cool for me. I had a Super Nintendo. I got to go to their house and play Sonic.
Which I didn't mind. That means I get to go to other people's place, bring my controller. It's like Super Nintendo time.
Yep, absolutely.
So I mean, so that's like, that's why I was like, so everyone, I was like, if you know, I expect it to be harder to get this one, even with the increased production. I mean, based if people were to go based on their nostalgia, there would be none left ever. I mean, it's like everyone our age would just snatch it up because hey, that was our childhood.
You see, here's the thing though. It is our childhood, but you know what? This is what happens with the NES Classic. More people, you know, associate video games with the first three, with Mario Brothers 1 and 3. So as good as Super Mario World is, you think, oh, Mario Brothers, they think Mario's they think the Mario Brothers music, they think the original Mario Brothers graphics, that's synonymous with video games. So as much as you and I are like, oh shit, Final Fantasy VI, those people, the common person, the person who, like, for example, my chiropractor, Joe told me whenever the NES Classic came out that our chiropractor wanted an NES Classic. Our fucking chiropractor who doesn't play video games and is like more health conscious and whatnot wanted an NES Classic. Because Mario Brothers is video games. Super Mario Brothers is video games to so many people. Hell, it's video games to me as well, because it was the very first one I ever played. But we've also played more than just the original Mario Brothers. Gamers want this one more in a more concentrated sense.
I just really hope that everyone who wants one is able to get one.
Absolutely. Because Nintendo's kind of said that they're only producing it this year.
Yeah, and well, you know, I've stated my issues with them and their bullshit production practices. Regardless of what they like to comment on, they are full of shit. So, but I know it's not going to be any different here, and it's just going to help fuel the problem that you have with it, you know, in terms of the damn scalpers. So,
and as much as Nintendo sucks at producing stuff, I vilify the scalpers because they amplify the problem of what Nintendo's doing with production. Because as much as Nintendo is going to fuck up the production aspect, the scalpers are what's going to make it frustrating for us trying to get one.
But you know, it's easy to rectify.
Produce more, but then you also, but I mean, this is not me defending Nintendo specifically. I'm not defending Nintendo, but I know that producing hardware, especially whenever you have two pieces of highly sought after hardware, because the Switch is going to stay. If the current amount of systems that I've seen in stores is any indication, the Switch is still going to be selling well by that point in the year. They have two highly sought after pieces of gaming hardware in production right now. I mean, they're going to sell it all. So it's not financial resources so much as it is our factories can only produce this much stock. But they need to get as much stock as they can. They literally need to not concern, well, we might not sell this, because bullshit, you're going to sell it. Crank production out the window, go in the red, put those damn things in stores. Because artificial demand is only good for the Switch in this case. And yeah, it is going to be artificial for the Switch for a while. The Super Nintendo Classic, they're saying they're only going to produce it this year. Make enough.
That's what I don't get. Why? Why make it so limited time?
Because I don't even have an answer for this one.
Because there is none. That's just Nintendo, and it drives me crazy. I don't like their sorta on the verge of a collector's thought process to everything. You know, like when they release something special, god darn it, it's fucking special. Even though everyone should have a chance to give you money We want to give you money. But no. It's like, well, you weren't one of the 2 million people. Fuck you.
Well, it was 3 for the first one, but yeah, exactly. And you know that shit kind of happened with the Amiibo.
Yes.
And the Amiibo weren't even a limited time product. They had a few limited time ones like Shulk from Xenoblade. Shulk was actually listed as a limited time Amiibo. And that was fine. They actually said this one's limited time. But when Fox McCloud sold out and people were selling it for what, like $60 or $70, that one was not listed limited time. It was back in stores. If you sold it for $70, you're an asshole. And if you bought it for $70, you're an idiot. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry if you are listening to our show right now and you spent $70 on this. And you feel bad that you spent $70 on something that I paid $8 for on sale at Best Buy a few months after. You should have just waited, because that one's not limited time.
See, that's what I feel about consoles when they release them, and yeah, the initial runs sell out, but you go on eBay and people are paying these exorbitant amounts of money, and I'm like, just wait. Yeah. All you literally have to do is wait. What is your malfunction that you have to have it now? What game could there possibly be that you're going to pay 2 or 3 times the price of the console so you can play it now?
It's like, seriously,
nothing.
Seriously, motherfucker, Breath of the Wild is good, but you can get a Wii U.
No shit.
I mean, a part of me on that one is like, hey, you don't have a Wii U to buy it? You sucker. You should have bought a Wii U. You should have supported Nintendo. Oh, man. And, you know, this just comes to show just how hard it is to support Nintendo and to enjoy buying games from them, because they make it so goddamn hard.
Yes, that's the thing that I said with Breath of the Wild and the damn, like, various limited editions and how they immediately became hard to get. And I said, if this is how it's going to fucking be, this was before the console came out, then I don't know if I really want to buy this and get in bed with Nintendo again, if I'm never going to be able to get anything nice that I actually want. Because those assholes, like, let's put this on sale in the middle of the fucking night.
That, you know, there's a double edge to that. You see, they did the Japanese announcement video was when they did the pre-order starts in America, and they aired it in Japan at a reasonable time of day. You see, they did it in Japan. It was all in Japanese. It was for Japan, quote unquote. We got to watch it because it's the age of the internet, man. But it's the American stores who are like, hey, you know what we're gonna do? Fuck all you bitches. It starts now. So,
well, they only put it on sale once they get the green light, which they got in the middle of the night. Yes, it may have been fine over there, but it's not like they don't know what time it is. There's these things called clocks, this thing called the internet. You can find out the time anywhere in the world. So, fuck you, Nintendo. I want to have a fucking Matador statue sitting somewhere in my house, but no. That motherfucker sold out in 10 minutes.
It did, and that was a beautiful collector's edition. Now that said, I was able to see the regular special edition, the one that just had the
yeah,
case
I saw that
stuff.
one too. Yeah, I saw that one too.
Stores.
What's funny is I saw that at my Walmart. They had 2 copies.
Yeah, Target. I went, they had 2 as well.
I left, deciding not to do it because I already bought the game.
Yeah.
I came back the next day. They were gone.
God, man. Again, they just make it hard to. Nintendo makes it hard to love them. I hate to say it that way, but they really just make it hard to continue, because they still make really damn good games. And you
just don't want you to have them.
Yeah, you can only get Nintendo games on Nintendo consoles. That shit is true. You know? That's the thing that Nintendo has always said. It's like, Nintendo games are not possible on other consoles. I mean, yeah, they are. That's bullshit. But you only get them on Nintendo hardware, so you gotta buy the Nintendo hardware to get Nintendo's games. And Nintendo's games are still utterly fantastic. You know, I spent so much damn time a couple years ago. It was 2 years ago when I played through Super Mario 3D World. I spent so much time on that game. That's the most time I've actually spent on a Mario game ever. I didn't spend that much time with Galaxy. I didn't go after all the stars in Galaxy, but Mario 3D World was just so goddamn good that I obsessed over it for about 3 weeks solid. And Breath of the Wild, I've got 115 hours on it, and I still have fucking stuff to do in that game. They make excellent games, but they make it so utterly hard to put hands on the way you play them. At first. I mean, it will eventually be common. The Switch will be common someday.
But not this other stuff.
But no, this NES Classic, Super Nintendo Classics, they're making that hard. And with the lack of information regarding the Virtual Console on the Switch right now, it just makes my stomach turn, because also Square's giving me the finger with the Seiken Densetsu collection. Japan got that, and it's got Secret of Mana on that, and I'd be a little bit less angry about this Super Nintendo Classic thing if I could at least buy that. I'd still be pissed about Star Fox 2, but I could at least play Secret of Mana.
And then you find out the Switch Virtual Console is getting Star Fox 2.
Hey, if they give me if they put it on the Switch Virtual Console, as long as the emulation is as good as it is on the Super Nintendo Classic, I'm game. I'll be fine. I'll live. I don't have to have every piece of hardware Nintendo makes, even if I want it. Because, frankly, at this point, aside from like Game & Watch and Pocket Pokemon type things, I have all of Nintendo's hardware that I need. Except I don't have a new 3DS, but I got a 3DS, I've got a Game Boy Advance, I've got game consoles for fucking days from these people. I'm not suffering for Nintendo hardware, you know? But it's not specifically the hardware that I want in this case. It's literally Star Fox 2. And Secret of Mana, because I've never played Secret of Mana. It's supposed to be one of the best role-playing games ever. And I keep hearing how great it is, and I can't play it because it's not been... there's no way to buy it anymore, you know?
Mm.
You ever played Secret of Mana?
Yep.
Is it as good as they say it is?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I was always a traditional JRPG type of person. It's not a traditional JRPG. Maybe I just didn't experience the story much, because I didn't get very far in it. So maybe that's why. But I mean, so I don't have the nostalgia for it that some people do.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, I didn't play role-playing games until late in the PS1 era, so I don't really get to say. My first experience in role-playing was Pokemon, followed by Final Fantasy VIII. That'll warp your perceptions of what a good role-playing game is, too. I still got people telling me my opinion about role-playing games is dumb.
Why?
Because I think Final Fantasy VIII is really good.
Nothing really wrong with it. I mean, yeah, it's got its problems, but it's, I mean, I don't know. I find, you know, I enjoyed it back in the day, and if I can break the battle system then it's great, because I suck at trying to figure those things out, like to, you know, break a game down to a science. I'm not that guy. I'm not that person. That's probably one of the reasons why I can't do tactics. Because because you sort of have to pin that game down to a science in order to actually get to a point where you can just flow through it, even if it is still a little hard after that.
Shit, I'm 7 levels ahead of the curve, and I can't beat the level I'm on. So you're dead right about that.
I mean, that's just not who I am. That's not how I play games.
And there's
when I can go to Final Fantasy VIII, and I can because it's not that bloody complicated, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, some people would completely disagree with you. That's a wonky ass combat system, but it's wonky in the way that it's wonky in the right way.
I didn't say it wasn't weird. I just said it's fucking easy, and it is easy. If you actually sit there and listen to the tutorials, yes, I know they're annoying.
Yeah, they're long.
If you actually listen to them, it's easy. Read what the things. It's like there are red and there's like arrows that point up and down whenever you're equipping something. If it's not doing a positive direction, you're probably not going in the right direction. It's not a hard system. It's not. It just isn't.
It's not hard, but it requires a little bit of patience.
Yeah, but just to get all the material, all the the magic that you need. You go to 7, you have what little combos do, but there's also plenty of other shit that the magic does to you beyond that, like increasing or decreasing various stats.
Yep.
I don't want to have to sit there and keep up with all that shit. 8 was very simplistic. It increases these certain stats. There's no guesswork about what exactly it's going to be doing here. There's no guess on what your HP is going to be. It shows you exactly what it's going to be. It shows you exactly what your strength is going to be. It's fucking simple. 9,
Nine's
got a little bit more. 9 got a little bit more complicated.
9, no, actually, 9's pretty simple. It's just rootsy as hell.
That's what I'm talking about. It got a little more complicated because it went back to the past. Because now you have to find a bunch of items, equip them, battle for a while, and you have the skill. Okay, equip another item, battle for a while. I don't know if there's any way to break that one. I never really explored that one that much. But I did 8.
The way you break 9, in my best experience, is
don't you say that fucking card game.
No, the card game in that one's actually not relevant to breaking it like it is in 8. The only way to really break 9 is just set up. Whenever you know you're about to fight a dragon boss, you go in and you set up your skills to fight dragons. One of my favorite little twists on it is even early in the game, you get the Mage Masher early if you get the right weapons and you synthesize it. And then for the rest of the disc, when you're fighting all those black mages, they pretty much just fall over and die at the end of your blade because you have a weapon that's specifically designed to kill mages. And it's one of the only times where the Mage Masher weapon means what it says.
And see, you don't have to do that, Nate. You just get the material, you equip it to the certain ones, to the certain what, and I don't care what you fight, you're going to go through them.
Yeah, but
like paper.
It's best not to fight them because if you keep your level low and your stats high, you're able to better kill things later in the game.
I don't care. I don't want to do that.
I had level 60 characters last time I beat Final Fantasy VIII. I wasn't that worried either. And, that makes the fight against Ultimecia a pretty decent challenge because it's one of those things like as many times as I've beaten 8 and I've played it the way that I do, I still build a specific party up, save right before you fight her, and reload my save until I get the battle party I want. Which is a really shitty way to play that game.
I do forget that she randomizes your final battle party, which is kind of dumb.
Well, to be fair, no, actually, Kefka didn't do that. Kefka, you actually set up exactly what order you wanted everybody to come in at. But you had to be ready for everybody to fight in that game because you had to have 3 battle parties on the way to the exit. Or the end.
Yeah, that's kind of hard when you don't really exactly want to play everybody.
No, because I hate Strago. I hated playing Strago and Realm. I did not like playing either of them. You know what I did with them? I stuck them in a party with Mog, and I equipped the Moogle charm to Mog so that you didn't have to have any fights with that party. You only had to fight bosses. And Mog by himself is pretty strong with good weapons equipped. So you pair him with one other strong attacker, let Realm and Strago just bite it and kill the boss. I have a really shitty way of playing Final Fantasy VI, if you can't tell. But my lead party can stomp a hole in Kefka's face. It's great. God, I love Final Fantasy VI. Why am I not playing Final Fantasy VI instead of this damn Xenosaga game?
Had you beaten that already?
You're right, and I need to beat this. There's so much I still haven't done. I think we had there's one more thing I wanted to hear you laugh about. This is specifically, I want to hear Brandon laugh about this thing that came in this week. Because as it's already pretty obvious by the fact that we spent an entire hour of our podcast talking about the Super Nintendo. The only other thing that really piqued my interest this week is something I just want to hear Brandon laugh at, and I'm going to say a sentence, and Brandon's going to respond. There is a speculation that states that the Xbox One X will only move 17 million units by 2021.
So it's lifetime. That's not surprising. I mean, I said it when I read that original. I was like, well, that's not surprising. That's exactly what I expected it to do. Because, which, I mean, that might not be entirely true. Because once it starts hitting price, because more people will buy it. But as it stands, if it never changed price, oh God, the 17 might actually be optimistic. Like I said the last time we talked, I don't know exactly what Microsoft is thinking, because like I said, the casual gamer is not going to go pay $500 for this when they have so many other options, including your own console with the S or the original Xbox One. If their goal was like, I want a 4K Blu-ray player, you got the Xbox One S, which is what, $300,
which sounds way too much like an Xbox One X.
Yeah, that people have bashed them about their naming practices lately, but even still, just why would they spend $500 when they could pay $300 and get a 4K Blu-ray player and be able to play all your games? There's literally no incentive of getting the Xbox One X other than you're one of those pretentious douchebags that go, I have a 4K TV and I'm going to play games in 4K. No, you're not. You're going to play Microsoft games in 4K. You're going to play some certain third-party games in 4K.
Yep.
But ultimately, most of them won't be. And not to mention, most of them won't be 60 frames, but you so like to taunt in people's faces as well. It's stupid. I've never seen a bigger waste of money in my life. They wasted so much development, so many man hours. Hell, I guess I should say at least people got paid doing something. Otherwise, they'd be jobless. And while you're busy wasting your time doing that stupid shit, everyone else is thinking toward the future beyond you just trying to keep up with what your rival's doing. Who, by the way, has already sold like 40 to 60 million units. They already have sold their share. They don't care what you do. They've already sold theirs. All they have to do is just make games. And by doing that, more will sell because, they're not going to struggle. They're not going to die now. Nothing's going to happen to Sony. They've already sold 40 to 60 million units while your stupid ass is wasting money developing something that you may get 17 million units out of in its lifetime.
And that's
However,
do keep in mind we're not saying that this speculation is 100% true, because it is an analyst's speculation about how much the system will move.
But it's a very reasonable analysis based on how things are. I mean, if you're a person that cares about that sort of thing, you are already on PC. You already have your main gaming rig. You're not going to go. Most of them are not going to go out and spend $500 on this thing, because most of them don't really like consoles to begin with. Or you're casual. The only ones who are actually truly going to buy it are the people who buy it when it gets cheaper, because it will eventually get cheaper.
Right.
And your cult of Xbox people.
Cult. Such a
That's what I'm going to continue to call them, because that is the perfect description of those people.
Oh, I ain't going to disagree with you. Those guys, like, we've pretty much proven how much of a Nintendo fanboy I am earlier with my my ranting and raving about the Super Nintendo Classic and how dumb I am over Star Fox. I can't argue fanboyism. I get fanboyism. Fanboyism is something that I understand. You get defensive about something you like, and it's irrational and stupid, because frankly the thing you're a fan of is not going to really benefit you other than giving you entertainment. It's not going to come and save you if you get thrown in jail or something. It's just fucking video game. I understand that, but I get the idea of fandom. I have no problem with that. I just want to make that clear. But whenever you say irrational, dumb shit, like, oh, this is the real next generation of video games, Microsoft's about to stump Sony's asshole in and rape its mom, like, that's not about to happen. Like, I can say all I want about Nintendo and how much I think that they're doing a good job with the Switch, and the fact that the third parties are doing, I think that a few third parties have kicked in and have put out some good stuff, especially Nicholas, and things look like they might go right for Nintendo this time, even though the verdict's not out yet. But you see, I just said it, the verdict's not out yet. The verdict's still out, sorry. The verdict's still out. We're at a point where it looks good, but it may change in the future. I'm rational enough to realize that. Cult is perfect to describe Microsoft's crowd, because they are not thinking clearly. They didn't watch this. I feel like they didn't watch the same Xbox presentation I did. I feel like they got an Xbox presentation where they No, they got the exclusive Xbox presentation. Yeah, they actually got the booth babes with like beer in their tits, and that's
exclusive.
Why they're exclusive. Beer tits are exclusive to Xbox One X owners. So, but the best thing I saw. This is the reason why I don't get their fervor. The best thing I saw at the Xbox One X, conference, because we're going to call it what it is. That's all they talked about was the Xbox One X and how it was the next, that it was the next sliced bread and it's the next Beatles and how it's going to come into your house and drive you around in its sports car and shit. The only thing I saw that really intrigued me was a 90s-esque mascot platformer. And it costs $30 at launch.
Yeah, and that's what I think ultimately I was so disappointed about. Is like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, Microsoft, sell me on your new, powerhouse console. Sell me on it. Go make me go and buy. No, you failed. You didn't do it. You didn't even. It's like you didn't try. That's what I felt like after. And it's like, wow, you really weren't trying. You're basically just acting like you did with the original Xbox One. It's just, you're just going to go out and buy this because we tell you to.
And you know what? Let's just tell them, Brandon. Like, Brandon has literally looked at buying an Xbox One, a regular Xbox One.
Yeah.
Almost constantly. He's thought about this. I'm saying constantly, but like, if he goes somewhere, I've gotten messages from him on like Facebook, like all the time is like, hey man, Tim's got an Xbox One here at the store. It only costs $220. I'm thinking about buying it. And then by the end
that was a damn good deal.
Yeah, and then by the end of the day, he's like, nah, I ain't gonna buy it.
No,
and I'm trying to tell him, like, the games I like on it, and the games I've enjoyed, and what's coming up, and, you know, it's like, and it used to be Scalebound, but now it's Super Lucky's Tale. But, like, that's not selling Brandon. I'm glad I have one, but Brandon's not gonna buy one.
Because these are like great games if you already have the console, but they're not games to make you go out and buy the console.
Precisely, and frankly, when I got mine, I bought mine on the promise of stuff that was coming up in the future, and the stuff that I was already on. Like, for me, Rare Replay was something that sold the console to me because it had a shit ton of games for a really good price, some of which are not available otherwise, and it kind of appealed to my retro tastes as well as my interest in, you know, modern gaming a little bit, because it had a few of the more recent Rare titles that are actually good, namely Conquer. I didn't have a way to play that otherwise.
Did it have Perfect Dark Zero?
Unfortunately, that piece of dog shit is on there, but it had Perfect Dark on there as well. I mean, at least...
Oh, shit.
It's got Perfect Dark.
It's got Perfect Dark Zero.
No, it has Perfect Dark.
Oh, it doesn't have the second one?
Brandon, there is no second Perfect Dark.
If it doesn't have the second one, then I don't want to play it. I don't want to play. I don't want it if it doesn't have Perfect Dark Zero.
I don't know what the satire you're trying to spin is, but it's really goddamn terrible.
I want my, you know, slow down when I bring out my shotgun. I don't know why the game slows down when you bring out the shotgun, but it gets ultra slow. It must like really be trying to imitate, you know, movies from the time when they were like really high on slow motion.
No. You see, it's actually an homage to the original Perfect Dark, where if you brought out an original shot, like the regular shotgun, it took every damn frame of animation for the next 3 minutes to reload. Perfect Dark on the N64 had some problems too, brother. Tell you what.
But not like that.
No.
And honestly, I didn't really. I've never really been a shotgun person, but I just that experience stuck out in my mind because it happened every time.
How much? How much did you pay for your copy of Perfect Dark Zero back when we played it?
Less than $10.
You see, I bought mine for $3 in the steelbook and everything. Because we did it. And it's like, you know what? I need a trophy for this shit. I'm going to buy my own trophy steelbook of this piece of dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that you bought a Switch on the promise of future video games and Breath of the Wild.
Well, yeah, I bought it because of the concept.
Yeah, and it's a cool concept.
Be done with it.
Right. But Xbox doesn't have an interesting concept. It's just a game console.
That has nothing to offer me. Like, there's nothing there that's like, God, I gotta have that. No, it has nothing like that. Nothing.
Yeah, because you're not even interested in playing fucking Halo anymore.
No, not really. And hell, they didn't even have a fucking Halo. You're selling a new fucking console, and you don't even have a fucking mainstay title.
Like, they didn't even show, like, Master Chief in the desert like they did with the Xbox One.
And then they had the balls to come out in an article later on and say, oh, well, we have, like, a bunch of titles down the line. You expect a lot of things to come out in the next 3 years.
Motherfucker,
3 years.
Motherfucker, you gotta sell that thing now. I know we are officially repeating previous podcasts, but that shit's still important to say. They gotta sell this thing today.
It's like, you need to sell me this now, not 3 years from now. I'm not going to buy this console and have it sit here for 3 years while you've been jerking off this entire time. What have you been doing? You've had all this time.
You just said it.
To get ready for this, and you just been jerking off. This is why you failed this generation.
Fail is a strong word. Fail is a strong word. They definitely have not impressed anybody.
No, you can pretty much say that they kind of squandered this generation. They have wasted so much money on this that what they have sold in the previous version of this console, it probably been just thrown out the door because of how much this actually probably cost them to make. And then they're not even really going to make that much money off of it. Because, for one, they're already selling at a loss. And then it's not going to sell to that many people beyond the cult of Xbox people. That's not going to make your money back.
Absolutely won't.
That is a failure.
I'll call it a failure when by the end of the generation they haven't broken 50 million.
They'll probably break. They'll probably break 50 million by that point, maybe.
But what title though? Like, what games do they have coming out that will move another 20 million Xboxes? Because I don't know anybody who's. Nobody's fucking. I don't hear people saying, "Man, I got to go out and buy an Xbox One." Anybody you talk to, people who are gaming, like I talked to a guy at work who has an Xbox One. He went Xbox One whenever the system launched, and he sounds like he regrets it.
How about the ask, like, does he regret it?
Like he told me the other day, it's like, yeah, I got Injustice 2. It's like I didn't buy a PlayStation 4, so I don't have Street Fighter 5. I was like, damn, man, that sucks. Because from what I understand, Street Fighter 5 is pretty good now that they finished it.
Yeah, now that they finished it,
took them a while.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, I could, after, I went with the 360.
Yeah.
And at the time, JRPGs and whatnot really weren't, hell, even toward that was never really a big thing during that generation. I mean, there were a few titles out there, but ultimately it sort of got ignored. Yeah, you had your, like, Atlas, well, not really Atlas, but that NIS America and those people releasing their niche RPGs that don't really do much for me.
Right.
But other than that, you really didn't have anything. But, at least I've gotten Persona this time around. I've gotten 15, though that's on other consoles. But even still, the PS4 is up on the JRPGs, and the Microsoft once again is getting nothing because that audience is not there for that console.
Right.
So I just have no real reason to ever buy one at the start because it's not really going to give me the games I want. I'm going to have games on there that I would be willing to play, but no games that I truly want to play.
So what you're
saying,
it
still doesn't.
What you're saying is when this thing has been around another 2 years and it's now selling for $120, then you might feel a little bit different.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I might go out and buy one. Once it reaches like $300, I might consider buying one.
Oh, you're talking about One X now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on what the others cost. And then again, if I don't have a 4K TV, it's still ultra pointless. It's still very pointless.
Pretty much.
I'm not going out and buying a PS4 Pro because I don't have a 4K TV. I probably need to buy a new PS4, altogether, just because my power supply keeps like messing up on me. Don't know why.
Which is fucking tragic, in all honesty.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just remove the hard drive, buy me a new one, and plug that sucker in, and it's not like nothing happened. Other than I would just be missing a few $100s.
So that's the part that really would break my heart.
But the original PS4 it's like $250. It's not expensive anymore. I mean, it's still expensive, but it's not as expensive.
Right.
It's in relative console terms, it's cheap. It's cheaper than the Switch.
Man, and it's got such a great library. Man, Sony's knocking it out of the park this generation. Really,
yeah, they are.
They had a shitty E3, but they're really
they had a
well.
shitty E3 because they just showed me what I was like. Yep, already seen that. I'm like, Jesus, are you gonna give me anything new?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have said this, and it's somewhat accurate. They should have prepared better. I'm gonna say that, but they really blew their load this year.
And honestly, it just goes the problem with people having their own big event, and with them having the PlayStation experience every year, it kind of makes E3 really pointless. I have a feeling they're only there because Microsoft is there and they're expected to be there to compete.
Right.
But other than that, they have no reason to go.
I mean, I still think they should stagger their announcements then and really come in strong, because that's what Nintendo does, because they do the Nintendo Direct. And they kind of created that model for doing your own show. They still do an E3 Direct, but they have something to show you at everything that they do. At every stage of these announcements, they have something to show off. But that's Nintendo. I mean, they've been in the business long enough that they're better prepared for some of this stuff.
Sony really did. I mean, they released like a bunch of titles at the end of last year, so I guess they really just don't have anything. I mean, it could just be they don't have anything. I mean, that can happen. You're just like, oh, we finished. Okay, now what do we do? We gotta start the engine back up again. It's going to take a little bit, so I guess I'm just really not that surprised, because it's not like it's been that long since last year. I mean, yeah, we're halfway through this year, but I mean, that's really not that long.
No, it isn't. And like you said, whenever you start a year with not just Resident Evil 7, which is a third-party multi-platform title that's very good, but you also have Neo, which is an exclusive, Persona 5, which is an exclusive, and Horizon Zero Dawn, which is an exclusive, after releasing The Last Guardian, which is a game that, didn't have the best reviews, but is a game that people had been talking about wanting for a decade. And Final Fantasy 15 as well, which people have been talking about for a decade, which is also multi-platform. But like, after you have that, that period of like 6 months or whatever, with that strong of a lineup, yeah, rest on your laurels a bit. Well done,
And depending, you could also count Nier on top of that as well.
Oh yeah, Nier.
People love the new one, and it's sold. By the end of May, it has sold 1.5 million.
Which is really good, because it's a pretty niche title. I want to play it because I watched Super Bunny Hop's discussion of it after he finished it. That game is crazy fucking interesting.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get a hold of it. I don't know why I haven't.
Well, mine is an issue of I've been trying to build a Nintendo Switch library that I can wave in people's faces, which is dumb. I freely admit that's a really stupid thing to do, but I have 9 Nintendo Switch games, and I have my 10th one coming up late next month. Or is that September, August? Whenever Redout comes out, that's when my next one happens. But anyway, is that everything we've got for this week? Because we have another podcast to record.
Yeah. I think I've bashed Microsoft enough for their poor choices in life.
And remember, Microsoft, it's not that we hate you. It's just that we remember when you were doing really well. And
like I said, like most people, I spent most of last generation on the 360. That was what most people did, and they, for whatever reason, they let it go to their heads, and they committed what Sony did that generation.
And Nintendo and Sega, it's the third generation. It's that third generation curse. I swear it's a thing. I know I sound stupid when I say it, but you look at it and tell me that's not true, man. Because the Saturn, fucking total failure in the States. Pretty good in Japan, but total failure in the States. Nintendo 64, literally 1/4 of the titles that the PlayStation got, and nowhere near the hardware sales. The fucking Xbox One and the PlayStation 3, horrible first little bit of time period. Now they picked that one up. Sony really did pick up and get back on track.
toward the end of the PS3, the gap was very small.
Yeah. And also, they about halfway through, they were like, hey, we actually need to sell this thing with games. And they started making games. They bought studios, they put the money in, and they did the work, and they got games. They get really good games. So it's all a matter of how you handle that situation. And Microsoft didn't.
No.
So remember, Microsoft, it's not that we hate you. It's just that we're really disappointed, and we think you need to go to your room and think about what you did. And while Microsoft goes to the room and think about what they did, you should consider coming and joining us on the Facebook and Twitter, where we have our social media channels at ZTrigger Live. And we would like to hear what you think about this show and how much you disagree with us about our position on Microsoft and how much we continue to kiss Nintendo's ass while also stomping it. Because Nintendo. That was funnier in my head, I'm sorry. Brandon, if you want to cut that out, you can when you edit this.
Nope, you're boned.
It's just stuck in there. All right. Anyway, we hope you'll come back and join us next week. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page. We are doing a Final Fantasy live stream also with this right now, and we're having some fun. Well, at least I'm having some fun with that. I'm torturing Brandon, making him join us too. And I'm having fun with it, though. Come and join the fun. Come join the conversation. And we will see you in a couple days also with our book discussion podcast, Expanded Universe. We got some cool stuff this week. Name of the Wind, Dragon Bone Chair. And I actually don't know what Trent's reviewing, but he's going to be joining us for that here in a few minutes. And yeah, thank you for listening, and you have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next time here on the Z Trigger Podcast. My name is William Hill, and good night.
Laters.
I don't know why I said my name at the end.
I don't either.
It's like my brain is like fried because it's 12:30 in the morning, and it's like, hey, this is the beginning of the podcast.
No, I was like, is this a news broadcast? Because that's literally how they sign off.
Maybe that's what I just did. I don't know. It was weird, and I apologize.
Yeah, according to this, the PS4 is currently, as of June 12th, 2017, have sold 60 million units. It is only 20 million units away from matching PS3.
Jesus Christ, man. That is madness. I'm sending Trent a message apologizing for the fact that our show ran pretty long for it to have 2 subjects.
Well, that's why I said that. I was like, oh yeah, all that's fine, because it'll be just fine.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about.
Oh, we had a lot to say.
Alright, and for anybody who's watching the live stream, which is to say, you know, nobody? Brandon's watching it. Thanks for watching it, Brandon. You're actually helping our analytics.
Analytics.
Yeah, you know how you're helping our analytics? You're maintaining the amount of time watched compared to the number of users, which is really cool. Brandon? Are we still here?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to go grab something to drink here in a second once I finish this fight.
And I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Oh, man, oh, man. Two down, 2 to go. Boost. Trent, are you there? Still waiting on everybody to join in for the next show. We'll see if I can continue playing. I know the last time we did a book review, I had to stop playing. I should finish that one. No, it's not, because it's not the right attack. Okay, yeah, it's dead. Cool. Alright, sweet. I killed a thing. Trent does not hear me. Trent, why do you not hear me? Check your audio, because I don't hear you either, actually. Let me send him that. Oh, boost. I should have actually healed her. That was dumb. That was really dumb. I am going to boost him. And him. So they can do damage to the guy. Ether. Etika 2. Okay, 610. Alright, that brings her back up. That's good. It's only 2080. Let's just kill this motherfucker. Ah, he boosted before me, that dick. Ah, shoot me. Save it. And boost him into play, because this guy's going to be hurting in a second. Ah, okay, he's just dead. Cool. Nice. Welcome, person watching, to me sucking at Xenosaga. God, you do not get enough skill points. Also, I am really under level, and that sucks, because grinding is nightmarishly hard climb. Oh, man. You know, I've already said this, but Oh, there's Trent. Hi, Trent.
Hey.
How you doing?
All right. I have not gotten this new computer figured out yet.
Oh, jeez. So how you been? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah. It's been tiring.
Oh, man. I know it. I know all about it.
But I like the news shift I'm on better now. So.
That's good. Always good.
I get home earlier. I have to leave to go to work earlier as well, but I get home earlier, so I have time to do a little bit at night now.
Go. Stock. I'm going to step away and grab a bite. I'm going to grab a drink before we do the next show, because I'm going to need some saliva, basically, to be able to cover the book I'm reviewing. Because I'm reviewing a big book this week. I'll be back. Ow, ears. Oh, my bones. My horrible, horrible bones.
Typity type type.
Yeah, I guess I should get over to the plot description of the book I read, just in case I need
Is Brandon back yet?
No.
Excuse me, but I have to put my giant ass headphones on so I can see if you were on or not. Alright. Trent, what are you reviewing this week?
Block in the Shadows.
That's a Queensryche song, isn't it?
That's what I was about to say. I was like, the Queensryche song?
This is a book review.
Yes, Walk in the Shadows.
Brandon,
No,
we're just gonna
Block in the Shadows.
we're just gonna have to start singing along whenever he starts his review.
At least doesn't, take hold of the flame.
God, that was so funny. Whenever Gabe couldn't sing in sync with literally the rest of the audience.
Yes, we all stopped and he kept going.
Oh, we should get started because it's late as hell.
It's early.
Okay, it's late. It's early Saturday. It's late Friday, and I woke up early today. Oh man. All right, Brandon kicked off the show before, but Trent's not been on in a while. I say we let Trent start us off. Hey, what do you think, Brandon?
Okay.
All right, Trent. Well, actually, Brandon, whenever you're ready, give him the go-ahead. I'm going to try and survive this fight.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of the Expanded Universe. This is the show where we try and review books.
Try being the keyword.
Yes, try. Because sometimes we do well, and sometimes we ramble. We like to ramble.
We usually ramble.
We ramble on.
Oh no!
You should have been here last time whenever Brandon reviewed Lord of the Rings. That would have been far more appropriate.
I was.
You were here for the Lord of the Rings one?
Yep.
God, my memory is terrible.
I wasn't here last week, and I wasn't here the week before the week he did that.
By the way, welcome back, Trent Crump, to the podcast. We've missed you. All right. So before we get into actual book reviews, oh, by the way, I'm William Hill, since I'm the only person who's not had his name called out for this particular episode. What have you guys been reading aside from the stuff you're reviewing?
Well, I'm still trudging through Blood Brothers, which is the 6th Necroscope novel by Brian Lumley. I'm trying to get that finished as soon as I can because Tad Williams' new Austin Ard book came out this week, and I want to start that one.
Nice.
So
how are his modern books? I know, I've only read the Dragon Ball Chair, but certain authors don't do well later on in life when they're such an all-aged author.
Well, I really liked the Otherland series. The Bobby Dollar ones, I've reviewed a few of those on the show, and they're okay.
I remember you saying the first one was alright, and then the second one was not.
Right, and I really liked the third one.
Okay.
So
well, I have the second and third one.
Bag.
I have the second and third one. I gotta find a copy of the first one.
Yeah.
I paid like 25 cents per book in hardcover.
Ah, so. Nice. I paid about $30 for Witchwood Crown.
Nice. Well, I mean,
which is the new one.
New hardcovers will do that to you.
Yep. But hey, at least the book is like 800 pages, so I feel like I've got my money's worth somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than Blood Brothers, besides the book I'm reviewing, nothing. Yeah.
What about you, Brandon? What you been reading?
Mostly just books that I'm never going to review. Right now, I'm on the 4th Grey Walker book, Vanished. This is basically all these books are basically like my in-between review book. Since we only do one every 2 weeks, I have to space those out. Even though they'll take me a little while to read, I have to read them in such a way that I'll end sort of close to the show, so that I will actually remember what the hell I read.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I hope to do that someday because I'm actually reading right now. Like, I'm actually in a good reading mode, but the books I'm reading are not short.
Yeah, see, that's my problem, is that most of the ones I have left for review anyway are not short. I actually don't know of any short book I have left. Most of them are at least 500 plus.
Wow. Yeah. I'm in that spot right now because the book I'm reading, the sequel right now to the book I'm reviewing tonight. I read The Name of the Wind for this week's show, and I'm a decent chunk into Wise Man's Fear now.
What page you on?
I'm a little over 200 pages in. I've been super busy with work this week, so I'm really behind on actually making progress. Now, when I actually have time to read, I usually knock out about 50 pages in a shot. So, but that is not a small book. Clocks in at a solid 1,000 pages, and that's actually been. It's real. I'm not gonna get into it because, frankly, I'm gonna be talking about how much I like the first one tonight. I guess I should just segue into my review at that. You all are fine with that?
Yeah.
All right. So, at long last, one of our favorite listeners has been telling me for a very long time that I needed to read The Name of the Wind. My former roommate, whenever he read it, he said, yeah, The Name of the Wind is really good. And then Brandon read it, and he said, Brad, you got to read Name of the Wind. Brandon told me he liked The Name of the Wind so much that I had to read it, so that I could... you can correct me if this is an adequate way to put this, but I had to make sure it was as good as it was, or as good as you thought it was, or something to that extent, Brandon.
Sort of, and plus I just needed someone to talk about it with, because there's so much going on in those books that's like, I need someone to talk about this with, because, you know, aside from Kitty, I have no one to talk about this book with.
And you
I
have
need more people.
And you have these two assholes you do a podcast with who haven't read it yet. So I wouldn't call it pressure so much, because after I found out about it from Jeremy, my former roommate, I'd already decided that, I should read this. I like reading, and this looks really cool, but it's really long, so I don't know when I will. When I finally bought it, I was living in Winston-Salem when I bought it, so it's been 3 years since I bought that book.
Woo.
Yeah. That's how long I've been sitting on this thing, saying, yeah, I'll read it whenever I feel like I can get through 720 pages. Talking about The Name of the Wind, which is by Patrick Rothfuss. This was his debut novel. It came out 10 years ago. 10 years ago, this book came out.
And it took him 10 years to write.
Yes, and I get the feeling we're heading that direction for book 3. I mean,
yeah.
So long as it's good, That's the way I got to put it. That's the way I just got to think about it. Is as long as it's good. This book, I'm gonna put this sentence out there and tell you what it's about in one sentence, because I don't want to waste time getting into too much plot details, because this book is it's definitely the journey. It's definitely a journey, and I want people to take it depending on whether or not they think this sounds like something they want to read. The main character is a man. Young man named Kvoth. I'm saying it right this time, right?
Yes.
Kvoth, because I know it's supposed to be like Quoth, but with a V. Kvoth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got corrected on Facebook, so I want to make sure I get it right this time.
Yeah.
I want to get it right this time. So Kvoth goes to an academy to learn arcane magics, and also to find out why his parents were murdered. That's a nice short, succinct way of telling you everything you need to know about what will ultimately take place in this novel. Now, this is a book that has been celebrated since its release. It's won awards. It's gotten a ton of really good press, and it's genuinely loved by a large portion of the people who read it. And then there, of course, are the people who hate every single thing about it and want the book to burn in utter hell. But, we can't all have good taste in books now, can we, Brandon?
Nope. That is definitely true.
Sounds to me about what I think of Terry Goodkind's books.
I've never read Goodkind, so I can't say.
I haven't either.
I have his first one to read. It will eventually happen. So.
Apparently the first ones aren't bad. It's just as they go along, his right-wing politics get into them more and more.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, no thanks. Yep, I'm done. Bye. All right. So, let's talk about structure. So, this is a trilogy, from the way I understand. This is going to be a trilogy of books. Kvothe is working as an innkeeper in a tavern, and war has broken out across the land and is about to threaten this little hamlet's peaceful way of life. And the chronicler comes into his bar, and Kvothe tells the story of his life to this man. And he's going to do it over the course of 3 days.
One for each book?
Yep. So, I call bullshit right out of the gate, though. Because it's taking me a hell of a lot longer than a day to read this thing.
Oh, shit, right?
Well, maybe the main character does not stop for food or work.
He has breaks.
Yeah, there are interludes in the actual story. So
yeah,
he goes outside to smoke every once in a while.
Come on, this is a medieval fantasy novel. They're smoking indoors.
Yeah.
So that is the structure of the book. You have moments that are told in third person, where Kvothe and the chronicler and Bast, who is Kvothe's apprentice, in the end, they're just sitting there talking, and this is where the most floral of the prose is in place. I mean, the writing during these parts is significantly more beautiful than the rest of the book, because it takes the time to actually be that kind of writing. And I say it that way because one of the criticisms I've seen laid against this book is that once it goes into first person during the parts where Kvothe is telling the story, it's first person, and Kvothe is not going to sit there and wax poetic about the shine of the fucking bar that they're standing in. I mean, come on. That's just not going to happen.
No.
And I wanted to make that clear, that you get a very different type of writing whenever you're reading the third person compared to the first person. So that being said, whenever he starts telling the story to the chronicler, he is telling the story of his life from whenever he was young and he was in a traveling group of entertainers with his parents, and learning about arcane magic from somebody who was traveling with them for a short amount of time. Until they're, and I'm getting, there's some spoilers here. I mean, not really, because it's on the fucking back cover. But his parents are killed, and Kvothe is homeless for a decent chunk of the book. Depending on how you enjoy your stories, this can either be the slowest goddamn thing in the world, or it's one of the most harrowing things you can possibly read in the book. That is not a comfortable section of book to read, because the things that happen during that section of the book are genuinely unpleasant.
Oh yeah.
Large. It's not a fun story.
No.
Especially during that part. And even whenever Kvothe finally makes it to the academy, Kvothe still goes through some shit. We'll just put it at that. Dealing with his rival Ambrose and so on and so forth. When his parents are murdered, he actually sees the people who killed them, and they say, someone's parents are singing the wrong kinds of songs. And this is whenever he discovers that about his foe for at least the first book. I have not finished the second to say, obviously, but the Chandrian. Brandon, you did the audiobook, right?
Yeah, I did. During my time of reading, I did do audio.
Is it Chandrian? Am I getting the pronunciation there correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Just so you know, sometimes the audiobook people do not get their pronunciations correct.
Well, while that is true, Pat is he's not someone who's ever going to be hands-off in anything that has everything to do with his books.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has a review of this book up on Goodreads that says, I kind of like this book, but my opinion on the matter probably shouldn't be trusted.
Yes.
Yeah. But he always gives out pronunciation guides to anyone who does any of his stuff.
Ah, okay, that's good.
That is excellent. And whenever he goes to the academy, he's trying to discover why the Chandrian are trying to kill his folks. That's the ultimate goal of the book. Alright, because I'm reviewing a book that is genuinely loved and adored, I'm going to give some defenses for the things that people tend to hate about it. Is that okay with you, Brandon? Because
Okay.
you've already talked about this book on the show at one time, and I kind of got to give it my own spin while giving my criticisms as well. Because my criticisms are very short, and we'll get to that. So, Kvothe as a character is intelligent. We're talking super goddamn smart for someone his age, and as a result, he tends to anger the people around him from time to time, namely his teachers at the academy, one of which he tried to show up by saying, well, yeah, I already know these things that you're talking about in class. And it's like, oh, you want to teach tomorrow? And then he does, and doesn't go particularly well for reasons I'm not going to spoil, because yes, you need to read this book, it's really good. So yes, you can totally say, yeah, he's a little bit too intelligent for his own. He's too smart for his age, and that makes him an unrealistic character. But Rothfuss does something that's very important for this that I don't think a lot of people are giving credence, they're not paying attention to this aspect. Yeah, Kvothe is smart,
but he's also very dumb.
He's a fuck up.
Oh yeah,
Kvothe's a fuck up. Kvothe makes so many dumb mistakes because he is smart. He is very smart, and that intelligence serves him well. It also gets him into near constant trouble. Hell, in the second book, it almost gets him arrested. I mean, kid just does not make the best decisions with all that intelligence he's got in his head. That's kind of the beauty of Kvothe as a character. Yes, he is talented with his loot. It's a loot. It is a loot.
Yeah,
I'm slipping. We're almost for 1 a.m. I'm just trying to remember all my details here. So he's a great lute player, and he's a great singer, and he's trying to make money with that, so that he can survive and continue to pay his tuition, which we'll get to that particular common joke about this book in here in a minute. But he can never make any of this click together and survive off of it, because he keeps fucking up because of said intelligence. And I wouldn't call him arrogant for the most part, so he's not like this insufferable douchebag of a character, but he's relatable in the fact that he isn't infallible. Like whenever he makes a mistake, it's not small. It's never small.
Basically, he has the intelligence without the wisdom to properly use it.
There you go. Thank you for enunciating that better than I have been. So let's get on to that thing about the money. The driving force of the thing that drives this narrative, bizarrely enough, is the fact that Kvothe is broke. From the time that his parents die, he has no money, and he will spend the rest of this book trying to afford to go to school. Whenever people say that this book is Student Loans the novel, that's not far from the truth. Because he basically goes to a loan shark to get money to stay in school, and he's trying to earn money to pay her back the entire book. And there is tension surrounding money the whole time. So strange to me that this kid being broke is one of the things that actually is driving the narrative forward more than his actual goal of finding out who killed his parents.
Well, there's a reason for that too.
Well, I know, but we're not getting too much into that. But that is more of a driving point in the narrative than the actual villain. How often can you say that the villain is not the thing driving the plot forward, or the character's not driving it forward? It's the fact that the character can't afford to go to school. It's worth pointing out to me, because it kind of goes against what we expect from fantasy fiction. We expect the good versus evil, bad guy twirling his mustache and being a total dickbag. In fantasy novels, we're used to that. We're kind of culturally adapted to the concept of of the villain being what is making things happen and the character go on his quest. But frankly, Quoth's not really on a big quest yet. He's going to school. He's doing stuff related to his overall quest, but in this novel, he's mostly at school learning magic and pissing off Ambrose, which, fuck Ambrose, because what an asshole character.
Oh, yeah.
But he's got a pizzle that's bound to fizzle, so...
Are you possessed with a pizzle that's bound to fizzle?
No.
Then I don't see what the problem is.
Trent is like, what? Oh. So, now that I've gotten those aspects of the narrative structure out of the way, and I'm going to draw on the fact that I have one other thought that I want to bring to this. This book is basically Harry Potter, but real world.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because seriously, Harry Potter's parents died. He goes to magic school and ends up facing the guy that killed them. There's parallels there. I mean, it's a lot different tonally, and the execution is completely different. It's not something that I can say, oh, if you like Harry Potter, you'll like this. It's not the same kind of thing in that regard. But, hear me out. It makes me... It made me question, whenever I was at work one day and I'm, trying to keep my brain on things that are interesting to me because, let's face it, retail's boring. Whenever I'm sitting there thinking, why the fuck didn't Harry Potter have to pay tuition? He got room and board and got to eat all the time. I mean, dude had a better life and he didn't have to pay tuition. Who was paying his tuition? Who was paying Ron's tuition?
He was the boy who lived.
Then who was paying Ron's tuition? Because Ron wasn't shit until Harry Potter came.
Did they establish there was tuition?
They didn't.
No.
So, as far as I was understood, it was like, it's not something that you had a choice about. You had to go, or you basically had to give up ever being able to use your ability.
You forfeit your wizardry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then who? Like, how did they afford to feed everybody? I mean,
it's Governor Rand.
They don't use money.
Yeah, they do. They have the nuts and galleons and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
They went over Harry Potter money, and oh my god! Speaking of like denominations of money, you get to learn all of the denominations of money that Kvothe carries around because he's so tight on his money. Like he won't even buy clothes whenever all of his clothes are falling apart, and it's like, but that would cost a whole talent. No, his clothes are just all like bloodstained and torn and shit. Like it's a very good book, and despite
literally
the fact,
shit.
Well, it's not shit. It's strange. Like for a book that is so frequently melancholy, it's not miserable. Nope. Like as much bad shit that he goes through, I'm never sitting there reading it and thinking, man, he's whining like a little bitch the whole time, because he doesn't. Dude just gets things done. He fucks up along the way, but he gets stuff he does accomplish things by the end of the book. So, verdict, because I've kind of hit a bunch of very specific categories I wanted to talk about whenever discussing this book, because it's a big book. This is a 720-page book in the, like, trade paperback, not trade paperback, the mass market paperback I've got. But it's... The difference between reading this and when I was reading A Dance with Dragons is that I never found any part of this book dull. I did feel like whenever Kvothe's running through the woods with his...
love interest?
His love interest, yeah, because they're not really dating.
No.
Bitch stringing him along so hard. Like, that part wasn't... It didn't drag, but I felt like it was... it was not as good as the rest of the book, because I felt like some of the interactions on that part were, I don't know, I have conflicted feelings. Like, I'm glad that those scenes happened, but at the same time, I wish they were better. which is a very weird way to put that, and I'm sorry I don't have a more eloquent way to put it, but the execution there is not as good as I wanted it to be because of how good the rest of the book is. So now the verdict, yes, this book is every bit as damn good as people say it is. When you look at the back of this book and you see all the quotes from various authors and critics, it's not hyperbole. This book really is just that stellar of a fantasy novel. It is everything that I really want a fantasy novel to be most of the time, in that there is the adventure that I want from a fantasy novel. There is a quest where the main character has to go through great peril in order to achieve a goal. That is here. Mind you, we haven't seen all of the peril, and he hasn't reached his goal by the end of the novel. And I don't know that he will, based on the tone of the book. I don't think that that's the kind of story we're really reading, but it's in there. Like, that sense of adventure is a part of this book. There is humor and there is lighthearted moments. It's not just dreary and dreadful and political like so many fantasy novels are right now. There's enough positive energy in play that even when the situation is dire, I'm not just like dreading turning the page because, oh god, I wonder what terrible thing's going to happen next. Like it never goes there. So I got the adventure, I've got the tone. I'm trying to bring it all together. And the mythology. The mythology is the third, and ultimately it is probably the most important thing that any good fantasy novel will have, is a good sense of myth, that the world is old and has been lived in long enough that there are stories, and there are not just stories but legends.
And I love
that the land feels real in that regard.
Yeah, and I love the fact that that you're not entirely sure what the correct actual legend is. It's
right.
Because if you the church has their thing, but then there's stories involving the same people, but they're different.
Yes.
Drastically different, and the church doesn't like these stories being told, but there's nothing to ever suggest that it is the truth. It's just another interpretation. So you're always left guessing about what happened and what is the real, what is real.
And I know that by the end we will get a clearer understanding, especially since, and this is speculation, and we're venturing into even stronger spoiler territory, but the church is hiding something.
Yeah.
We don't know to what degree that the church is hiding something, but the church is hiding something. And when we find out, I get the feeling that it's going to be third book and it'll be too late for anything good to happen. I don't predict a happy ending for this trilogy.
Oh, God, no, not at all. I don't expect him to have a happy ending at all.
But at the same...
Just by reading the interludes, you get the gist. That's this is not going to end well.
But at the same time, it's not a Song of Ice and Fire type of thing where I'm just miserable thinking about how things are not going to end well, and I don't care on some level. It's a sense of, I know it's not going to end well, but I know that it's going to be very interesting whenever I finally know what it is that's coming. Because there is enough intrigue built into it that no matter what ends up happening, I don't feel like I'm going to have my time stolen from me by this book. Yeah, it's going to take me a long time to read, but I won't feel like it's been wasted. And that's very important whenever you're talking about a book that at this stage, when the story is currently at 1,700 pages by the time I finish the second book. That's nothing to sneeze at in terms of time investment. And I rarely get books that are that long that I feel like my time was invested well when it's all said and done. And Name of the Wind is beautiful in that regard, and the balance between tone whenever it goes into those different narrative points of view, the way the story is told is elegant, is the quick and easy word to use for it. And I know it's a bit cliche, but it is an elegantly penned work, and I recommend it to so many people. If you have even a passing interest in fantasy fiction, this is top-notch stuff. You will not be disappointed, I do not believe. Now that said, I've got a friend who really did not like the book, and I hate it for him because I dug the hell out of it, but man, I hate that I waited so long. And that's it.
No, you shouldn't hate it, because that means that you aren't going to be waiting as long as everybody else for the third book.
Yeah, but now that I've waited this long and I finally read this one, and I've started I did something with this book that I don't do. I started reading the second book immediately. Usually I take a break and I read something short after reading a book that is this goddamn long. And I didn't. I jumped right in and I got swinging on the second one the day after. That alone should say that just how much I like this book. So, but yeah, I think it's time that somebody else is reviewing something, because that was longer than I expected to go on.
Well, mine will be nice and short.
Brandon, it's your call. I don't, because you're reviewing something that's pretty chewy as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Trek, go ahead and go.
All right.
All right. So I read I started a new fantasy series this time. Go figure.
You don't read fantasy. What?
Now, if you said that about sci-fi, I might agree with you, but you know, because I don't actually read a lot of sci-fi.
I used to read sci-fi. This year, not so much.
So this is the first of Lynn Fluelling's Night Runner series, and it's called Luck in the Shadows. The series is mainly known because the two main characters are both male and
gay.
No.
Wow, Brandon. That was a little presumptuous.
Well, actually, there is sort of that type of relationship going on somewhere in the books, I know.
Yeah, well, the first book, there's none, really. There's not even a relationship yet. But the series is known for the two main characters being in a relationship, and they're both male. However, they're not gay, so to speak.
So they're Sam
They
and
both
Frodo.
have have relationships with women. So
it's a bromance. It's like really tight bromance. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I guess. I think there's sex later on in this series, although it's not really, explicit.
But they're
But
not.
I haven't gotten that. I haven't gotten that far in the series yet, so I don't know.
But they're not gay.
Not exclusively.
Okay.
I would say they're bisexual. Yes.
Okay, so gotcha. All right.
That's
all you had to say.
Well, I just didn't want to say because I don't know. I've only read the first book.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
And that stuff doesn't come into play until apparently the end of the second book. I've started the second book, but I haven't gotten that far yet. So we have our two main characters are Alec. He's 16 at the beginning of the first book. And I would sort of and well, I'll talk about the other character first too. And then we have Saragal, who is older. Let's just say older. He appears to be about 25. And they're both in a prison. Alec was put in prison because he was hunting and went onto private property, and that's a no-no. Saragal is there probably because he actually belongs there. Saragal is a con man, and well, yeah, I'll just say con man for now. He helps Alec escape. They both escape, and Saragal comes to quote unquote like Alec, and offers to let him live with him and learn the ways of conning and thievery, because Alec is an orphan. Yeah. So on their way to Saragal's house, they're ambushed, and Saragal steals something which happens to be cursed, and so Alec has to get him back to his home city, basically by himself. And the home city, which is called crap, I can't think of the name of the city now. Rimini. It was also the home of the organization of wizards in this universe. And we find out that Saragal is what is known as a Watcher, and he helps sort of protect the crown secretly. He had originally trained as a wizard, but was no good at it. And while he does this, the crown sort of, well, the Watchers are not they're not known by the palace as being Watchers. It's sort of like a secret that they don't even know who the Watchers are. I'm not exactly sure what the main plot of the book was. There was a lot of political intrigue there that sort of did not seem too important to the story as I was reading it. I'm sure it'll come into importance later in the series, but I'm sure they'll give me a refresher in the next book. I was listening to this as an audiobook on my way to and from work for the most part.
Tell me, Trent, I have a question here.
Uh-huh.
If the politics are not interesting, would that mean that they are no longer intrigue? Bottom Tish? I don't know. Sorry.
I'd have to go with yes on that.
It ceased to be intrigue and just became politics.
But see, the thing is, this is more of a character-based book for the most part. So and it's a setup for the later books in the series, so it doesn't really matter that much. And the characters are all really likable. I mean, you have the two main characters. You have Nysander, who was the wizard who tried to train Serigel for years, but whenever Serigel tried to cast a spell or something, something would break or blow up. And you have Thero, who's Nysander's apprentice after Serigel washed out of wizardry, who has no personality whatsoever, and is just seems to be sort of a hateful bastard. He definitely hates Serigel because, jealousy, I guess. There's Mycom, who is, we find out, was Serigel's first crush, sort of. I mean, this is a guy that's kind of older now, and is married, has kids, and is also a watcher. He sort of helps Serigel on his missions, and basically the missions are spying for the most part. So yeah, I know I'm not explaining it very well, but I didn't have much time to prepare this, so I really liked the first book. It's a pretty divisive series because some people go into it thinking it's going to be basically a romance series between two males, which it's not. It's not centered on that at all. And as I said, in the first book, it's really not there at all. Besides Serigel thinking, Alec looks pretty nice. Yeah, that's basically it. I would give it... Well, on Goodreads, I gave it a 5 out of 5, but I think here I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Because I don't know how the rest of the series is going to go. There's a lot of humor in the book, which I was surprised at. A lot of fantasy that I read just doesn't really have a lot of humor, or it's very forced. The book isn't too long. It's under 500 pages. I know for some people anything over 300 pages is long, but I'm used to 500 and up being long, not that. Any questions?
No, I don't even have another bad joke for you.
Let's see. Anything else? Nope, can't think of anything else. I told you it'd be short.
Brandon, I think it's your turn.
Okay.
And you have to convince me that this book is so good that I need to read it next. Maybe.
I don't know if I can do that. I mean, to be fair, this book is literally responsible for a lot of your major fantasy authors today. I mean,
as long as you tell us what book that is, that's good.
Yeah. So, I read The Dragon Ball Chair a couple of weeks ago by Tad Williams. I basically read this right after I read Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings supposedly if it's the grandfather of fantasy, while this is the grandfather of modern fantasy, in my opinion, and probably a lot of people, because it took a lot of what was done in Lord of the Rings, but gave everyone more character, a lot of character, and in that, for that matter, because there really isn't a whole lot in Lord of the Rings. You get what you get. There's really no expansion among the characters of who they are. In this one, however, people aren't just cardboard cutouts of their class. The Ranger isn't just the Ranger, and he isn't just lawful good and acts lawful good in every lawfully thing he does. Here everyone has problems. People make mistakes. Good people do bad things. It's very much what we get in a lot of modern fantasy. We get actual storytelling, and that's what this book supposedly kickstarted for fantasy. This book is about a world that's going through some pretty hefty changes thanks to their king dying, and a douchebag, well, at least right now he's a douchebag, taking his place. He's causing problems. He's acting like an asshole and ostracizing everyone else. So people aren't happy.
Trump has become king.
Yes, sort of. No. Yeah. You could sort of think of him as Donald Trump, but I don't know. It could be a little worse in this case. I don't really know how far Trump would go if his brother opposed him, or if he even has a brother. But anyway,
he has a dead brother.
Okay, so
he's not going to oppose anybody.
Yeah. Anyway, the main character, because there is a main character, even though you sort of do have other points of view, but the main person is Simon. He's just a kitchen boy in the royal castle, and he, through a series of events, goes on this big epic journey. Well, I don't know about epic. You know how people make the joke that there's a lot of walking in the Lord of the Rings? Well, there's a lot of walking here too. The big difference is I found this entertaining. There is a lot of exposition during their walking, but I didn't find it as dull and dry, because in the Lord of the Rings it's like, hey, we've not given you any more world building in a little while, so let's sing a song. Well, this book has a few songs, very few, and none of them contain plot details. They're just songs that they're like, hey, here's a song from my land, and it's funny. Some of them are funny. Unlike Lord of the Rings, where everything's ultra fucking serious. But one of the things I will say is I felt while I was reading this book that even though it only took me 3 days, it felt a lot longer. It is 672 pages. It could be more or less depending on what edition you have. It uses all 672 pages, and you feel like it uses all 672 pages. It's not. There are some dry spots, I will say.
The first 100 pages are hard to get through. Sort of. That didn't really. That wasn't the parts that really bothered me. I can't really pinpoint certain locations. Just I guess every segment, every stretch of the story, at certain points, I'm like, wow, you've really made this go to a standstill, so you can just basically have character interaction, which I can't complain about, because at least I'm learning about the characters that are there. You're trying to get me to learn about these people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I wish it didn't use so many words to do it. Thanks to all the vast amounts of fantasy that I read, I can pretty much already see where the story is going to go.
There's absolutely nothing here that I can't predict pretty much right away. But that doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying it, because I do have enjoyed it so far. I do like the fact that Simon went from a, not exactly like rich or anything, but he was a little spoiled in the castle. He even say that all the different housekeepers and people who actually work at the castle, they spoil him. Besides, well, the dragon, as they call her, which is who raised him. She was his, mother. That's not his mother, because it's just like in every other fantasy story, the main character's mother's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Very rare to find a parent still alive.
Yeah, that only happens, I think, in Wheel of Time.
Yeah, well, that's sort of. Let's see, where am I going to go? Yeah, so there's a lot of walking. There are definitely there are a number of action set pieces. I found him to be a better writer for that than Tolkien, which I've had conversations with Brad in the past. Yes, back in the day he wasn't exactly he wasn't an action. He wasn't really a novelist. He was a poet who wrote a novel because he couldn't do poetry. And God doesn't show. Here, however, this guy was a novelist, and he does actually write decent action scenes. And I can see why this had such a big influence on so many people. I am glad I finally read it. I did stay away for a while just because of the length. It's hard to jump into an almost 700-page book. But yeah. So,
what did you think of Benedict?
Oh, I enjoyed Benedict. He was fun. It was great. Thankfully, though, even though there's a lot of different points of views, there's not that many characters to keep up with. I never got drowned in just a massive amounts of people that I have to keep up with, like in Wheel of Time. So I never have a problem remembering names and faces and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. Both of the series have like the glossaries in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have to switch back as much for the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series as I do for Wheel of Time, because Wheel of Time, it's like every other page or every page.
Yeah, there's so many characters in that one that you pretty much do have to like keep your own little set of notes on the side just to sort of remind yourself what the hell. It's like, who's this person? Oh, I met him like 30 pages ago. I don't remember.
All right, what's that color Aes Sedai do?
Yeah. And there's none of there's thankfully there's none of that in here. I'm trying to remember if there's not a whole lot of magic.
Mm-mm.
I'm trying to remember where magic actually happens.
The witch.
Yeah, the witch. They have the drug-induced dream sequence.
Mm-hmm.
There's the main bad guy, or at least one of the main bad guys. He is a known magic user. But magic is described as something that is not a young person venture. You're really only capable of truly wielding magic basically when you're an old fart, because that's the only time when you're considered wise enough to learn it. So not many people know magic in this world, at least at this venture, at this point of the story. Yeah, so it is sort of like, the Song of Ice and Fire that way, where there's magic in the world, but you just don't see it. Very seldomly do you ever see it.
And there is a dragon.
Yes, there was a dragon.
Wouldn't be a fantasy book without a dragon.
Yeah, even the Name of the Wind sort of had a dragon, sort of. Not quite a dragon. Yeah, sort of.
A little bit of dragon.
Yeah, a little bit of dragon.
A dragonfly?
No. No?
No.
He's a lot bigger than Dragonfly.
Yeah.
And he likes drugs.
But
yeah, the only other thing I have to say about this book is that the characters do grow. Simon does grow. He does change over the time. He goes from being just the kitchen boy to, he's a little bit braver. He's a little bit wiser. And I can tell that's just probably something that can continue on through the series. So it's sort of not quite a coming of an age, but it has got elements of a coming of age story.
Now, did you listen to this one, or
A combination of both.
Oh, okay.
I listen when I'm traveling to and from work, and I read when I'm home. Which, when I was reading, I didn't have any problems keeping up with what was going on. I never found it to be any issues.
I remember I had to give up on the audiobook and just start reading it physically because of those first 100 pages.
It's so funny, speaking of hard starts of fantasy novels. Whenever Jeremy told me about how he started reading Wheel of Time, he was like, the first 500 pages are terrible, but then it gets really good at the end. I was like, damn. And then I liked the first 150 pages, no problem, and was really digging it, and I had more trouble getting to the end.
So yeah, I don't always mind the beginning of the every fantasy novel that ever takes place just about it's like, well, this is the guy, he's in this town, let's look at him live in this town for a little while before we send him on his adventure. We're introduced to a few characters, some matter, some don't, but hey, that's okay. As long as it's well written, I don't mind.
And look how bored the main character is living in the small town.
Yeah. And but I don't always mind that. If it's written well enough, I don't care.
Well, you know what? That's one thing that Luck in the Shadows does not do. I mean, you're starting out in a prison, and you're thrown into the middle of the story of a prison escape right away.
Wow.
So it doesn't do that, surprisingly.
And neither did fucking, what was the name of that horrific, not Gardens of the Moon? Yeah, Gardens of the Moon. It doesn't do that either. It starts you in the middle of the action. The only problem is this middle of the action expects you to know thousands of years of history before it.
Ugh.
Without telling you what that history is. Because this is literally the first novel. Yeah.
That's a book that takes no prisoners around there.
No, it's not. Yes, I definitely recommend Dragon Bone Chair if you like characters and like a little bit more traditional fantasy, because this does hit those little notches.
And you like lots of world building?
Well, I don't think there's actually. I mean, there's a lot, but there's at the same time there's not. I mean, I've never at any time felt like, God, not another world building scene. I've never felt that way.
I guess I just feel like it's a lot since I read all 3 books back to back.
Now, I won't do that. For most long fantasy novels, I cannot and will not do that because you can get burnt out so damn quickly.
You learned that last year, didn't you?
Well, no, I didn't even do that last year. I knew better. The only books series that I ever read back-to-back novels for, besides the 2 last Mistborn novels, just because I wanted to go ahead and get it done, is Dresden. And that's because they're so damn fun that they're just like, I don't care.
And they're not long.
Yeah.
No, they get longer.
Yeah.
I mean, they get to 500 pages, but it doesn't ever bother me. I still finished even the long ones in a day. because they're just so damn fun to read. But I can't. But for traditional fantasy, no, I can't do it. Even back then, I knew I couldn't do it. That's it, like Brad. He read Name and Win. He's automatically started Wise Men. I did not do that. I read Name and Win.
I don't.
And a long time afterwards, I started The Wise Man's Fear. I did not read those back to back.
I don't usually do that because I can't.
Yeah, I can't. Even it's just something that I have to take a break from the massive amount of detail. I have to have something simpler.
I gotta
or
say,
not even something simpler. I just need something. I need a different world.
And now for something completely different.
Yes, I need that. Hell, it may even be another fantasy novel, but as long as it's a different world, a different set of characters, I'm fine.
See, I'm different. If the next book's available and I really like it, like the book, I'll go straight on to the end. That's what I did with the Dark Tower series. I basically did that with the first 3 Shannara books.
There's some series I have to return to.
Yeah, it's been a while since you read
that series. I just need to start.
Now that's sort of
a
halfway point between Lord of the Rings and Dragonbone Chair, but a little more Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I can sort of understand why they compare the two, but at the same time, I was like, did y'all actually read them? Because if you did,
I don't think they did.
They didn't, because while they have similarities, they're not that similar.
They're written completely differently.
No shit.
Thank God.
Yeah, really. Honestly, I'm going to say this, and to a certain degree it's true, but to me the Shamrock book is a stronger novel. Lord of the Rings may be a stronger world-building piece that set the groundwork for fantasy, but Shamrock was a better novel.
Yeah. It seems more like Lord of the Rings is an exercise.
Yeah, sort of. But I will say, at least get through the first book. I haven't read past that, but I know it's supposed to get better. But the first one can be a little bit of a drag, so at least just try and get through it, and then continue on and see how you like it.
Is that it?
Yep. I'm done.
All right. Any other final?
I'm spent.
Any closing remarks from anybody before we wrap this fine podcasting experience up for the week?
Sometime in the next few months, we really should read Lost Tribe of the Sith.
I was actually going to say that we do that one for our next episode.
I'm going to be kind of busy reading a 700-page book.
Me too. That? I've got a 1,000-page book I'm going to read. I can break for that one.
I'm not going to break.
So,
the one.
Understand that, because I guarantee you, when that third book from the King Killer comes out, I'm stopping everything else. I will not play anything. I will not watch anything. I will read until that book's done. Because I have waited. I mean, I've not waited as long as other people have, but damn it, at this point, I'm starting to wait a long time.
well, anyway. We'll
although, you know, the Lost Tribe of the Sith thing is short stories. I could probably work in, like, you know, one of them every other night. So.
That's what I've been trying to do, is just read, like, trying to get through one a night. I've gotten through one.
Oh, it's that bad, huh?
Well, it's like, you know, not to get into, like, early reviews or anything, but nothing happens. It's a series of short stories about the same group of people where nothing happens in each individual story, but in the long run, stuff happens.
Hold on. Does that mean it's like Seinfeld for the Sith?
I guess. It's like in this episode of The Lost Tribes, They kill some people. Episode ends.
Kramer Sith murdered somebody and he didn't mean to this time.
Oh, was he yelling at some person in the audience?
Yes.
No. This isn't the actor playing Kramer Sith. This is Kramer Sith.
But yeah, so like I've read the first short story. This is going to be another book that's like whatever.
You're gonna find that there's a lot of those in Star Wars, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm dreading that, and you fucking people are making me do it. I'm sort of regretting this already.
It's your idea.
So I was gonna say, yeah, we can do that next episode if you want, because it's gonna take me a few weeks to read the other book anyway, so I can work this one in. Yeah.
You heard it here, first and foremost, people. Next time on the Expanded Universe podcast.
An Expanded Universe book.
Yes! Star Wars, The Lost Tribes of the Sith by John Jackson Miller. And until then, you can join us on Facebook and Twitter at ZTrigger Live to continue the conversation about science fiction, fantasy, and horror literature, as well as video games such as, Xenosaga, which we've been streaming tonight while recording. Come and follow us there, and follow us on YouTube as well if you feel like doing that particular sort of thing. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with Expanded Universe. We also just recently released the latest Z-Trigger podcast in which we talked about the NES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic, and
Star Fox 2.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that quite a bit. And we also talked about Xbox One on this recent episode. And we talked extensively about Xenosaga as well, so go check that out. It's a pretty good show. And, we'll see you next time on the Z-Trigger Expanded Universe.
Laters.
He's seeing you.
Yay. We're done.